Another episode of Elephant in the Room. Jake Cochran and Mick Gillispie were brought to you by mybookie.ag. Quarterback battle is waging in Tuscaloosa. We're going to get into that. Feels like it's Ty Simpson's job, kind of what we would expect, but it's not. I'm not determined yet. So we'll talk a little bit of Alabama football. We'll touch on some hoops. And how about baseball, man? Those guys are doing something that we got to pay attention to. They're a top 10 team now, and they just beat Oklahoma 2 out of 3. So not too shabby for Rob Vaughn's team. And I'm proud of the way that those guys are playing. So we'll get into all that right here on Elephant in the Room. But before we do that, this is an open worthy of a national championship quarterback. All right, there he is, Jake Coker. I was on John Boy and Billy yesterday. We recorded it yesterday. It comes out Thursday, so I don't know when you guys are watching this, but it's Thursday, April 3rd, and I gave you a shout-out on the show. That's the kind of partner I am.
That's right. What is it, a podcast y'all were doing?
No, it's radio show. Be on, I'll tell you the stations in Alabama. It's on the Rocket where we live on Thursday mornings. And then, man, this is going to be interesting. I know it's on in Huntsville on 106 FM, 106.1 FM, and then in Montgomery it's on the Fox, which is I don't know what station that is, but the Fox. Anyway, it's a syndicated show. Like it's on like in like a bunch of states. Like it's a whole bunch of list of shows, but they have been doing radio forever, and it's pretty cool to be on there. But they were on there talking about the Bama Tailgate show, which you and I are on.
Oh yeah, love it.
Got to throw a shout out to Coker. So you got to listen, man. See, like look at iconic, iconic radio show.
No, I used to listen to John Boy and Billy riding in, but they used to be on more than just Thursdays. I feel like.
No, they're on every day. We're on Thursday. I'm just saying, like we are on Thursday, not them.
Yeah.
You know, they're just they're on every day. They invited us up. Well, me, you're invited too, but you don't like to leave the house, so we knew better. We stayed at John Boy's farm. You would have loved that.
How was that? Pretty
that
awesome.
Was great, man. A group called Velvet Rodeo performed. It was like a private party, like with like a Nashville recording. These two, they got a TV show coming out, and they're all decked out doing their thing. And Carl the Cook Lewis made us, because he's on the tailgate show. That's where our connection is. He made us cooked for us and stuff, and it's fantastic.
I saw Kevin Sport was up there too. Huh?
Yeah, Kevin Sport, our buddy Kevin Sport. Yeah. Only guys that were missing were like the big stars, you and Taylor Hicks.
Yeah, that's right. Way to burn that farmhouse down.
Yeah, it would have been fun. It would have been a lot of fun. A lot of bourbon drunk out there.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I saw Scott Cochran Monday.
Oh, did
Coach
you?
Cochran, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he came to Mobile and made a speech. And, he's got the Coach Saban schedule now. He's shows up for the speech, and he's out the door before the event's over. So I didn't get to catch up with him too much. But, man, I tell you what, that's the first time I've heard him speak outside of being my coach. Or no, the second time. But the first time that I've ever heard him speak about, and I think it's fair to share on this because he's making public speeches and getting out there with his stuff. But, he's coming out and talking about his sobriety and his journey through addiction from I didn't know, it kind of all started in 2015. We used to talk about just his gas tank, really, his motor. Within Alabama football, I think he's got to be the second most influential character from that 2007 to, what was it, 2022 run, 2023 run.
Yep.
In terms of building that program and building the culture, I don't know if there's, he is right behind Coach Saban in that, but you didn't spend more time. There's nobody you spent more time with than Coach Cochran. And the fact that all those battles were going on internally for him, showing up, same energy all the time, it was really shocking to hear him tell his story. And I don't want to take away from his future speeches, but
right.
The guy is just, goes to, and I don't keep up with people as much as I need to, as I should. Pretty private and don't like, being on the phone and all the time and just catching up. But man, I tell you, that's one of those things. It kind of made me feel bad not knowing about all this until really this week. And I knew he was going through something, later in the latter part of his Georgia career. But
right,
man, you just never know what somebody's going through. And I know he had a lot of pressure. Those coaches, man, when I first got to college, I knew right off the bat within the first 6 months I never wanted to be a college coach. All the recruiting, all the time away from family, the pressure of getting 18 to 22-year-olds to perform at a level where you don't get fired and you got to uproot your family to the next town. Listening to him speak really put all that in perspective. And don't get me wrong, his job was about as safe as anybody's, but at the same time, you talk about being turned on all the time. No matter where you saw him or what he was doing, he was always, yelling, screaming in a good, encouraging way, unless you were really screwing up. But also having those one-on-one conversations with players. He was as much a psychiatrist as he was a coach, strength coach. And that way all the time. We had, and everybody loved him. We had I don't know if I've told this story on this podcast before or not, but Ryan Kelly, myself, Richard Mullaney, Dylan Lee, a couple other guys were getting ready for the draft or, for the combine, all that stuff. And so we all were working out in Tuscaloosa, and Coach Cochran invited us over to his house to have dinner one night and just hang out, kind of our last get together before everybody went their separate ways. And we didn't know where he lived, and so he shoots us his pin, and we're driving into this neighborhood, and I think me and Richard were riding together, and I think Ryan may have been in the car too. We may have all been riding together, but I remember we pulled in this neighborhood, and like all these hedges are like perfectly trimmed. It's like a beautiful neighborhood, and we're kind of looking. It was a little cloudy on where the house actually was, but we knew the neighborhood and knew about where it was. And again, as we're driving down, everything is manicured like perfectly, and there's moms dropping their kids off back at the house after they pick them up from soccer practice or whatever, football practice, kids playing in the street. And then we get down to this cul-de-sac, and there's one house with like toys on the roof. There's like a dead patch of grass in the front. And kids are just, I think, little bows like beating the heck out of a neighboring child. just chaos. And we get out. Oh man, we get out of the car, and here comes Cochran walking out of the garage, and we're all standing there. He goes, "What's up, motherfuckers?"
Welcome to my neighborhood, pal.
What?
I said, welcome to my neighborhood, pals.
and like all the moms are like, "Oh, Scott,"
God, that's so funny, dude.
It was like, no matter where you take him or what he's doing, he's always the same guy, and it's just transparent, as good a coach as you could ask for, because he's always the same way. And seeing him speak on all that yesterday or 2 days ago was, I mean, he talked about, in order to heal from all that, he needed to be as vulnerable and transparent about everything as possible, and really let loose on it. And again, he's always been known amongst everybody who's played for him to be a high character guy. And of all people you would have never thought would have issues with addiction, it would be him. I mean, just a guy that's that mentally tough, and to go through the headaches and all the stuff he was going through and still show up with that kind of energy every day, just mind blowing. But you never know, man. You never know. It's wild.
Well, it's a lot of stress and pressure on coaches, and I mean, we're about to talk about just the quarterback battle at Alabama, and kind of what that looks like, and and everything else. And it's like, you've been through it, just the battle to to try to win the job. Think about the battle to pick the right quarterback, and the stress that has. So, I mean, this is like kind of like reiterating it, but it's tough for the coaches too. I mean, it's stressful to try to pick the right quarterback.
Man, it's stressful for everybody. And I think it's that position of all positions. I think it stresses the entire team out a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my big thing is, while I wasn't named the starter at Florida State, I appreciated, the way Jimbo went about it, and when he names a quarterback, he names a quarterback, and he puts a lot of confidence in that, and he sticks behind the guy that he names the quarterback, and I think it eases the tension on the practice field when you're going into seasons, when the head coach is behind the quarterback and everybody kind of falls in line. When you think about the Alabama quarterback battles I was in, having a lot of it was kind of up in the air, throughout the first few weeks of the season. And I think that did, create a lot of anxiety amongst the entire team, because everybody, at Alabama, everybody feels the pressure of having to win, of needing to win, and building a legacy. Now, having said that, if you're not named the starter and everybody doesn't jump behind you, I mean, whose fault is that? That's the quarterbacks in the room, because you didn't separate yourself enough. So, in a perfect scenario, I like the quarterback named, early on, and that way the entire team can kind of relax, get behind that quarterback, and you can have fluid practices where everybody looks at one guy to be the leader,
Mm-hmm.
And that's my ideal scenario. My senior year, my junior year, I mean, I guess there just wasn't enough separation to make that call, and I think that created a lot of, again, anxiety in the first half of the season. And I think that's, honestly, we lost to Ole Miss both my years at Alabama. I mean, we were the better team, but I think that there was a little bit of disjointedness until we had continuity at the quarterback position, and everybody knew their roles and were able to fulfill their duties as efficiently as possible. And you can run practices as efficiently as possible and get your reps in and do all those things. Because once Alabama under Coach Saban becomes a well-oiled machine, that is a hard team to beat. And I don't care who's playing what. I mean, we had, again, more often than not, just about every game we played, we were the best team at most positions. And so, I mean, obviously that was a help, but when you've got that much talent and it's that much organized effort,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an opponent that nobody wants to play,
No. Well, I feel like this, Jake. It's like what Saban was able to do is is not just have talent, but get the most out of the talent. And part of that was that he wasn't going to put up with anybody's shit. I don't care how good or bad you were, and you were there. The accountability aspect of it, the discipline aspect of it, which is the biggest criticism that I have from last year's team with DeBoer, and I like DeBoer, and I hope he does well. I really do. But that aspect of it was where Saban really thrived, and you saw this firsthand.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, and to take it back to Coach Cochran, he was talking about this Monday. You had a figurehead in Coach Saban who was very relatable, but he was also an older figure, and much like a disciplinarian, you could make jokes with Coach Saban, and you loved Coach Saban, but there wasn't a whole. I mean, it was. It was kind of like he was a dictator, and that was the best way, in my opinion, for him to coach.
Right.
And so you could have back and forth. There's no doubt about it. But for me, it was a little tough to just, to go in there and say exactly how I felt, at some points when I felt like I was as low as I could get, I did have some of those conversations. But, it's a little different when I think Coach Cochran was big in that because, he was extremely relatable and he came from a different angle. And so, you go and talk to Coach Saban and you knew where you stood with him. I mean, you knew that he expected the best from you and the most max effort. But I think everybody really found comfort in speaking with Coach Cochran because, I'm not going to say, he was more like a friendly figure, but you could sit there and just vent and tell him exactly what you thought, and he's going to walk you through it and help you buy in to what Coach Saban is saying even more because he just knew how to communicate that. And he was really the only guy outside of Coach Saban that you knew was going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
And he was probably around those players the most in comparison to anybody else.
If you had a conversation that was uncomfortable with Coach Saban, let's say, throw it out there, would he be the guy you'd go talk to afterwards? Or you're like, oh shit, I just had a very uncomfortable conversation with Coach Saban. Is he going to kick me out of here?
Yeah, he was the guy I did talk to.
I was trying to be a little bit, I was like, okay.
Well, my problem is that I kind of learned from I feel like my dad and my grandfather that you shut up, you go to work, you do what you're told, and you don't complain,
Right.
And I do think that's the best way to be. My problem is that I would do that, and then I'd let everything build up instead of talking about it, over time.
Yeah.
And then finally I'd explode, and Coach Saban would be kicking my ass out of his office.
You know what, though? It worked out. So funny, though. He's a commentator on ESPN now. Who cares? The thing is that you are genuinely a great person, and you do not like conflicts. Like you're not looking for conflict. You are going to steer clear of it. You're going to do everything to just show up, do your job the right way, go home. You're not trying to get into any of that stuff.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
But there's something inside you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a wildcat in there or something. I think people, you know what though? Sometimes some of the best friends that you have, you become best friends when you have those kind of conversations. You have those kind of moments, and I think I've even been on teams like that. I've been in work situations like that. Part of the process sometimes is just that, where you got to say stuff.
Yeah, man. when I was going through the quarterback battle my senior year, I mean, I remember getting home and I was so, jacked up about it, and just so stressed out. And I mean, it just, it was eating me up. And, I remember going home one day, and my roommate at the time, one of my best friends, we were playing a video game, and it was one of those, everything was getting to me, and I exploded while we were playing. He was talking shit to me, and I exploded while we were playing a video game, and finally I was like, man, I told him, I was like, that's, it's just, I had to apologize to him, because I was like, I just got so much going on. It's not about this. It's about football and, everything going on. But, I've learned to let that stuff go a lot better than I used to.
Yeah, right. Well, cool to see Cochran doing his thing. And then, we've got this football team now. And guys, we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use that promo code Crimson. That's our personal promo code. And we want you guys to use it too. It's like, hey, I'm a fan of the show, and they got their own promo code, and I'm going to use it. 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip when using the code Crimson, mybookie.ag, right? So you got mybookie.ag. We're brought to you by them. We appreciate them and you guys for using that promo code. Quarterback situation at Alabama. Greg McElroy, who has a show in Birmingham and he's on ESPN, and he's got sources who say that.
Before we move on to the next subject, though, I want to explain that a little bit more.
Okay.
Coach Saban was like, everybody knows, if you've watched this show, you know that I think he is like, he's like a father figure to me.
You love Saban. I saw you powering up doing like the thing last year.
So, you got to understand that crazy things happen, within a football complex with a bunch of dudes beating the hell out of each other every day, and everything's a grind. And
do you think that if he was talking about the time that he spanked McCarron, that he would like go back and clean it up? Man, I think everybody's got you, man. I think everybody's got you. You didn't get spanked. So it's just like, think about it.
I did verbally for you. I got verbally spanked. I can tell you that.
And he loves both of you guys. Really, that's I don't think
it's part of being like. To me, that's what made him the greatest leader in college football. The best head coach in college football was, he found a way to manage guys through all their ups and downs. Because you got to realize this is your career. This is, outside of what happened at Alabama, that's probably, people that don't know me personally, that's probably why they're going to know me. And I'm sitting here, I talked about that national championship game where, we're down to Clemson, and I'm like, man, people are going to remember me as the only guy to lose for Coach Saban in a national championship, and that's going to be my legacy. And you think about all the things that when you're going through those quarterback battles and trying to be successful, you think about what your parents did for you to get you here, and you don't want to let them down and just be a backup your entire career, and all the sacrifices they made to get you there. And there's just a lot of pressure and being successful, so my thought was, if I don't play, don't start, and we don't win a national championship, all the things that I've worked for and done and over the years to get here, what was that for? And look, I know I'm extremely thankful for the education that Florida State and Alabama, provided for me. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time, a ton of time, working at football. And so to put all that time in and not play would have been a really tough scenario. So again, all the stress packed into that. You can imagine when that's all running through your head, and you feel like things should go one way, and you feel like you've been doing things the right way, just what you're told not saying a word, keeping everything to yourself. Eventually, I think, I should have handled it better by communicating more. But at the same time, you don't want to be that guy who comes in and is talking all the time about his problems and complaining. I mean, that's just, eventually nobody wants to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well,
but Coach Saban, again, I mean, he afforded me an opportunity that I'll always be appreciative of and be in debt to him for, and I love him to death. I mean,
mm-hmm. No, I was going to say, if he
there's
really
very
forgave
few people,
you.
there's very few people that I put in that upper echelon of
Oh, yeah.
Okay, would I go ask him for advice about this? And he would be one in every scenario that I would ask him advice for in every facet of life if I ran into a problem,
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
as we joke about all that, people got to understand that it's from a place of trying to work together to be successful, put the team in the right position, and just a lot of respect and love for Coach Saban. He's the best that's ever done it, and I love him to death.
Okay. That was the first. I was like, what are we doing here? And I get it. You're trying to get him to come on the podcast. And Coach, we would love to have you on the podcast. Like a great idea. We both love you. I'll name my next dog Saban. You just heard Cochran. Now that the backyard's cleaned up, it's time to bring you in. Man. I like where you're going, man. I like where your head's at. Hey guys, give us a roll tide. That's a thumbs up when you watch the channel. Get in the comments section. We appreciate you so much. And don't forget that we're always on covercrimson.com. 25% off the annual fee right now when you get on there. And basically we're building this message board. We're getting on there. We're cutting up. We're talking. The quarterback battle is obviously one of the things we're really into right now. So Greg McElroy, who also won a championship, one of the obviously the elite quarterbacks in Alabama history with title. He's got a show and he's on ESPN and he's got a lot of sources. And he says that he feels like Ty Simpson is firmly the quarterback at Alabama, something to that effect. And I tend to agree with him. And I'm going to kind of lay this scenario out to you. If Ty Simpson's not the quarterback, he's going to transfer. Then you're going to have a backup quarterback that was in high school last year. So I almost feel like unless he absolutely stumbles, or if Keelan Russell just, amazes you, that you'd really have to make Simpson the quarterback, and then just have Austin Mack ready if you need him, and feel really comfortable about your backup. But if Mack gets the job, I feel like it could everything could kind of fall apart.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to speak on, I haven't heard too much. I know that Greg has been, he's obviously following it pretty closely. But that's kind of what I would expect. Again, a guy that's been there for 3 years. The only thing that I thought maybe would give Austin Mack a little bit of a leg up was coming from Washington, having a year under his belt, with those guys. But again, it's, when he came in during the spring game last year and he looked like he made some good throws last year during the regular season, but you can kind of tell that Ty has it down and he's very comfortable with those players out there. He's been with them this will be his 4th year, right? He's going into his 4th year. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
But yeah, he's been around those guys a while. And like I said, man, when you get those, I've played with coaches' sons before. Those guys have a different level of anticipation, understanding. They've been around the game for so long. They've got, they can reach out. They got great resources, a great resource in their dad to talk to. And it's just, when you come from a football family, which Ty has, it's going to be hard to uproot, his stronghold on the position. And he's very talented. He's not Jalen Milroe athletic, and I don't think he's got Jalen Milroe's arm, but in terms of accuracy and anticipation, I think he's as good as. I mean, he's right there with Jalen, and I think his ability to get us into the right plays and make adjustments is going to be really key in him being the starter this year. I mean, I just don't see. I can't imagine this year anybody beating him out. But still, we've got an entire summer. Be looking forward to see how Austin progresses throughout the summer. I think that the summer alone gives you a lot of time to get better. But it all depends on how much film you're watching at the facility. How seriously are you taking 7-on-7s? And are you becoming a leader in workouts? Mm-hmm. Those guys looking at you like, hey, all right, I mean, you can. The players know. I mean, they've got an idea of who the real leader is, and so again, over the summer stuff when he's running alongside Ty, the workouts and 7-on-7s, we're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I mean, I can feel it coming. And everything that you keep hearing from people is that they feel like that this is one of those quarterback jobs that's going to end up going to him just because, because he is kind of the guy, the leadership guy. I think that the math helps him out too. What I was telling you before, but also how many times do you hear guys like CJ Dupree, is talking about him, what a great, leader he was, how much he's improved. So you're right, man. When the players start to get that vibe, it's going to be a lot easier to win the job because, the coaches probably feel the same thing. So
yeah, no, that's right. I mean, we just talked about the pressures of coaching, and I think, they're going to put the guy on the field that gives them the most job security.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, for them.
Yeah,
putting the best team out there so they keep their jobs, and maybe use it as a stepping stone to a bigger job. So
yeah.
I mean, the best player is going to be out there on the field.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, man, fun episode. We'll do it in person Friday. It seems like we'll get together and talk and catch up on everything in person. Do a longer form podcast, but we're getting closer to the last scrimmage, which I'm saying is the 8A scrimmage. Can't call it a game anymore. But we're getting there. Next week, going to be interesting. Media is allowed to be there for one viewing session. And then, obviously the 8A game, which I'll be there for, in Tuscaloosa. So
when's the mullet toss?
Mullet toss is coming up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm iffy on the mullet toss, man. Had some work stuff come up.
Oh no.
Iffy. I don't know, man. I'm up in the air right now.
I scared you off that bad, huh?
No, you didn't scare me off. I just got a million things going on. We'll see though. I love the mullet toss though. I just when you fold that, you reach into that Yeti cooler and you grab that mullet, and there's a whole bunch in there, and you got to pick the right mullet. You go big mullet, you go little mullet,
Yeah.
Because if you get it too big, it doesn't fly right. But if you get it too small, you don't have enough weight for it. Then you got to fold the mullet.
Yeah.
Then you got to throw it. And I would hate to see one slip out of your hands and then me come up behind you.
You're feeling
awesome.
awfully confident these days.
You almost broke the drone last year, so I'm realistic. You'd have to shank it. You'd have to absolutely shank it for me to be able to win. So, guys, again, we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Again, our promo code, and we appreciate you using it. 50% 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip when using the code Crimson at mybookie.ag. So do that. And thank you guys so much for being on the show. Jake, anything else you got?
Roll Tide.
That's a great way to end it today.